July 20th, 1969. Over 230,000 miles away, in front of the entire world, the Apollo 11 mission breaks the lunar orbit. Once safely on the surface of another planet for the first time, Commander Neil Armstrong mutters a line that has gone down as one of the most important quotes in human history.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Was broadcast back to Earth for an estimated 650 million people watching on television. Since that day, 5 additional Apollo launches have returned to the moon, bringing 12 more people to the lunar surface. June 2nd, 1988. One steroid-fueled madman announces his goal to achieve a feat that has never been done before. Oakland right fielder Jose Canseco stated to reporters he is going for the big-time goal. He was going to be the founding member of the 40-40 Club. 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. Canseco was successful in his pursuit of this elusive achievement. He won the MVP award that year and went on to have the weirdest career in professional sports history. Since that season over 30 years ago, only 3 other players have joined Canseco in the ultra-exclusive 40-40 Club. One of them is the most controversial hitter in the game. One of them owns a basketball team. And one of them is a, quote, shredded dad. 3 times as many people have stepped foot on the surface of the moon as have stolen 40 bases and hit 40 home runs in the same baseball season. Despite the 40-40 Club being about 229,996 miles shorter in distance than traveling to the moon, far fewer people have accomplished this feat. So this really begs the question, how fast can my friend's dad join the 40-40 Club? My goal here is I'm going to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases in Road to the Show myself. It is almost a challenge to be a realistic baseball player in the show, so I elected to play every game from the start of a new season to see just how long it would take me to accomplish this. Since I would like to do something in my free time other than pretend to be my friend's dad, I made the hard decision to adjust the difficulty and sliders to a level that isn't a cakewalk, but still difficult enough to impress people through a YouTube video. Loadout-wise, we are rolling with the Jose Canseco standard. Lot of power, lot of speed, not a lot of self-control. For anyone unfamiliar with who I am playing as, in one of my first edited videos, I recreated my friend's dad in-game and started his baseball career. Steve Burstein was drafted by the Phillies as their primary catcher. After a quick rise in the minors, he has now dominated the National League on a yearly basis. Fresh off winning every award last season, Steve was primed and ready to prove his haters wrong. It's opening day in Philadelphia. Taking on the Mets, and I start out strong, going 0 for 4 with 0 stolen bases. Game 3, and we finally get things moving as Steve launches his first home run of the season. In the next at-bat, Steve takes another ball for a ride for his second home run of the game. In the opening game of the next series against the Angels, Burstein swiped his first 2 bases on back-to-back pitches. His next time on base, it was the same result with Steve stealing another pair. After a thumping of Anaheim, it was time to activate the Coors effect for a series in Colorado. Steve banged 6 home runs in 3 games and snagged a few more steals. The Phillies swung up to Seattle to throw some fish around, take a selfie with the Fremont Troll, and hit some fucking dogs. At the end of my first recording session, Steve was a bit more than a quarter of the way there with 13 home runs and 10 stolen bases. I finished it out the only way I knew how. A power squatting minigame. Back in Philadelphia, and we were taking on our division rival of the Atlanta Braves. Game 1, and Burstein jets into third for his 11th stolen base of the season. Game 2, Pablo Lopez was taking a complete game shutout into the bottom of the ninth when Steve was able to poke a line drive up the middle for a single. During the next at-bat, Burstein snagged second base unopposed by the defense. Despite the stolen base notification appearing in-game and the stadium sound playing, this steal was actually counted as, quote, defensive indifference. Enraged by this, Steve had some choice words to say about this incident to the reporters who were in the locker room after the game. Burstein eventually refound his mojo and had another 2-home run game against the Mets. At the end of this session, Steve was just a smidge under halfway there with 17 home runs and 17 steals apiece. As before, how did we end this recording? Another power squatting minigame. We traveled down to the 305 for a series at the Fish Trauma Center. Hitting a trio of bombs off the Marlins, Steve then drove home the point of his absolute dominance by playing a game on his phone to get better at baseball. Back home once again in Philly, the team had a series against the Houston Astros. After launching a solo shot earlier in the game, Steve pimps out his second moonshot of the day with the utmost disrespect by just casually walking down to first in no big hurry. Who cares if the Phillies are playing 500 ball? Brown Sugar is on a historic pace for the record books. With the homestand over, we now head out to the desert for a series against the Snakes. Steve had one goal here, not just get a home run, but hit one into the freaking pool at the Arizona baseball stadium. First home run gets hooked to the left, way far away from any water. Game 2, we get blown out 7-1. I go dongless. In Steve's first at-bat of Game 3, he hits a lofting fly ball deep to center right field. Up against the wall, the outfielder makes the catch, only a few feet away from the chlorine oasis that was my goal. The final game of the series, and possibly my last chance at raining down artillery on someone in swim trunks. Steve finally gets a pitch and takes it for a ride. Into the right field bleachers, missing barely, only by a few feet to the right.
He holds. Descalso hits a high drive. Deep right field. Way back. It's in the pool. The former Rocky walks it off.
In Los Angeles for Cinco de Mayo, Steve gets the festivities poppin' with a 3-run blast in the top of the first. His next at-bat, intentional or not, he gets buzzed pretty close to his head.
Like vampires, the ginger gene is a curse.
Game 2 of the series, and we see a display of what happens when Steve's quick trigger to steal a base blows up completely in his face. home run 28 was a special one. Off the Catman, Tony G, Steve demolishes his first grand slam of the season. After sweeping the Dodgers, the Phillies come back home for a series against the Cardinals. We break the 30 home run mark, coming one step closer to our ultimate goal. In the last game of the recording, Steve didn't hit a home run, but he did walk the game off in extra innings, thus proving, yes, he does have that dog in him. Status report, Captain. 30 home runs and 22 steals on the season so far for Burstein. And, as always, how do we cap this recording off? With the series against the Marlins, we pushed our way even closer to the goal. Home run 33 was truly a dog, as Steve hit the foul pole with a 112-mile-an-hour piss missile, much to the delight of the Citizens Bank grounds crew. Having watched one too many documentaries on how the universe supposedly works, balance is an important factor to Steve and his journey through life. He had been hitting too many home runs lately. It's time to steal. Going on a tear, Burstein snags his 30th base in front of the adoring fans of New York City, becoming only the second catcher in the last 100 years to crack 28 stolen bases and the first one to join the 30-30 club. In game, we are treated to 0 cutscenes. So, to make up for this, I quickly improvised one myself. I hope you all like it. For some reason, the Mets chose to pitch Steve entirely meatballs for the rest of the series, and quickly, Burstein reached his goal, 40 home runs. We were technically halfway done, I guess. Now, just to get those stolen bases. Time for a little bit of a top 10 list. The top 10 times my friend's dad had to steal a base to join the 40-40 club. Number 10. Later that same game in New York I just mentioned. Steve poked a line drive up the middle, and then he takes stolen base number 31 on the next batter. Number 9. It's always sunny in Philadelphia for Burstein, as, with a quick jump, he snags his 32nd bag of the season back home against the Rockies. Number 8. Am I just going to keep doing this whole thing? I thought this was a bit. Let's just roll a montage and get it over with. There Steve sat in Atlanta. 45 home runs and 36 steals on the season. This was going to be it. Today, we were landing on the moon. First at bat, Steve taps one for a single and promptly takes what is his, stolen base number 37. Fast forward to the 7th inning, where the game is tied and Steve just drew a devastating 2-out, 2-strike walk. With the greatest thing since sliced bread now on first, Burstein steals second, even with an attempted pitch out. Number 38. As the next pitch splashed down in front of Atlanta's catcher, Steve jogged into third base, one steal away from glory. After being knocked in, Steve got one last at-bat in the top of the ninth inning. He dribbled a ground ball of hope up the middle and gets to first base. With 2 outs and 2 strikes, stealing on this pitch pretty much means the game is on the line. So, you know what we had to do. He had done it. With that successful stolen base, Steve Burstein had joined a group of accomplished individuals more exclusive than having walked on the moon. Steve was able to break the 40-40 mark on June 10th, 2025. So, mark that on your calendars, everyone. While simming out the rest of the season, 2 noteworthy events did happen. Taking place in the sunny tropical paradise of Cincinnati, Ohio, Burstein was honored to be the starting catcher for the National League in the All-Star Game. In the final game, Steve Burstein broke the single-season home run record, hitting his 74th of the year. Even though Barry Bonds has not been in a baseball game since his retirement in 2007, we are treated to a cutscene that all but says, "You just broke his record."
He has done it. He has set a new record.
This act is blatant Jose Canseco erasure, and I will not stand for that. Steve's ending stats on the season were 74 home runs, 55 stolen bases, 175 RBIs, a batting triple crown, an MVP award, a season better than Roof's best year, multiple hitting records, all for the Phillies to lose one game into the playoffs. At the end of the season, with so much on his mind, Steve needed some time for himself. Appearing on a weekly sports talk show, Burstein confirmed he was taking a darkness retreat, alone in the Oregon woods. He said that once he reappears from the darkness, he was hoping to have a better sense of where he was at in life. What is in store for Steve? What will he be pondering upon? Will he be caught on film wandering the woods once again? Find out the answer to these questions and more in the trilogical installment of My Friend's Dad Does Something Baseball Related. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Dumb challenges with ridiculous stories told on top of them is pretty much what baseball is when you boil it down, so I am very open to doing more of these. I look forward to seeing all of you again. Until next time.
A cold stopped.
So you're
Period.
suggesting that it went from wide prevalence down to what Mr. Schilling is saying, almost nothing? Is that what you're saying?
Well, when I mentioned the 80%, I mentioned at the peak of steroid use. That may have been somewhere from 94 on to the year 2000. That's when I played.
Okay.
I've been retired for, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. It's been a long time. But